Okay, guys, welcome. Thanks for being here today for this topic that I'm personally very passionate about. It's on joint health and blood flow restriction training. And this specific topic is exactly what got me into blood flow restriction and is why I am now so passionate about this method because building real strength despite joint pain or joint limitations is the true life-changing gift that I feel like blood flow restriction training offers people. So if you're struggling with a joint injury or arthritis or aging joints, this method can really be a game changer. It was for me personally. I'll talk a little bit about my story. I'm also going to dive into the details and a little bit of the science of why this is actually why blood flow works in this way and why it gives you such a good potential to build strength, even when you're working around joint replacements or joint issues, different than any other method I have found in my 30 years of fitness. So my story is, and the lesson I learned is that no matter how hard you're willing to work or the desire you have to be healthy, that alone is not enough to maintain our health necessarily. So when I was younger, I was an athlete. I was very strong, very fit, could handle a lot of stress in my body. And so I kind of thought like, look, I have the dedication. I'm knowledgeable about fitness. I'm going to be really healthy as I age. I'm just going to work hard and that's it. I'm going to be healthy. And little did I realize kind of naively at that point that just because you have the desire to be strong, that's not the only factor. What I didn't realize at the time was that that there are factors that influence your health that you don't have control over. And one of those is our joint health. The most frustrating thing about a joint injury or a joint limitation is that no matter how much you want to be healthy or no matter how hard you're willing to work, you can only work as hard as your compromised joint will allow you. And if you say, no, I'm going to push it, I'm going to push through that pain, or I'm going to push through the discomfort, you're only going to eventually end up with more dysfunction, more pain, more inflammation, more decrease in mobility. Your function will continue to decrease. So you can't constantly push through it without paying a price. The other option you have is say, okay, I have a joint injury. I'm going to respect it. I'm not going to push it. I'm going to work around it. I'm going to go light. In that case, and this happened to me, you lose strength. Your fitness starts to decrease. Your aging accelerates because you're now not working at the level you need to maintain kind of that optimal health. So it's a really difficult catch-22. I personally was in this. I think several of you that I know on this call maybe have experienced this. Alan, not naming names, but it's like, yeah, like what do? I want to be healthy, but there's a limitation I have. And if I respect the limitation, my health is decreased. So it's really, really frustrating. And not only was this frustrating for me, I had a injured hip from the age, I injured when I was 13, but it started bothering me in my 20s and really significantly through my 30s and 40s. And as I realized my hip couldn't handle stress and my fitness was decreasing, this wasn't just, frustrating. It was depressing, demoralizing. It diminished my own confidence in myself, and it actually made me have less hope for my future health. So it has a huge impact on our mental health, especially if we're someone who already is active and cares about maintaining, our activity as we age. So one thing I'm thankful for about my determination is that even though I ran into a lot of roadblocks and kept having problems, I kept searching for ways I could be as healthy as I could. And that eventually led me to finding and discovering blood flow restriction training. I started using blood flow restriction training probably 4 years ago, just kind of lightly, but I really dove into it about 2 years ago. And that's when I started using it regularly in my workouts on both my arms and my legs. And in about 1 month, my right leg that had been atrophied for years, that I'd struggled with for years, that had been weak for years, bounced back in strength in a way that truly shocked me. I didn't think that would happen. I'd been working hard for years and it wasn't gaining strength. But in a very short period of time, I got a significant increase in strength in my whole body, but in particular, my right leg that I had struggled with for so long. So not only did my right leg get stronger, but then this newfound strength meant I wasn't compensating as much. So my back started feeling better. My knees started feeling better. The things that were compensating, activity started feeling easier. I didn't feel like I had to favor that leg. I didn't feel like I had to kind of baby things. And I really could start doing a higher level of activity. And even my skin started becoming tighter again. I had lost so much muscle that my skin had gotten, looser, crepeier, which happens as we age. But I was still in my 40s and I was like, what is happening? And being able to gain strength again, just all these ways made me feel better and feel stronger. I've now been using BFR training for about 2 years exclusively. That's almost all I do with my training. I do a little bit of other things, but it's mostly BFR. And I can say I feel stronger than I have in 15 years. I have less pain than I've had in at least 15 years, 20 years. I've gained muscle. I've done DEXA scans and I've gained muscle using this technique. I have more energy and my aerobic endurance is better, all since I've started using BFR. Okay, so that's a lot of like, woohoo, look at all the great things BFR has done for me. But let's talk about kind of more specifically how this works and the science, because I want you to understand how it works so it doesn't sound or feel like a gimmick or something that's, too good to be true. This is really based in science. So we're going to talk about how it works. And I'm going to say the key promise that BFR makes is that you can use blood flow restriction with light loads, and that will equal true strength gains. And let me repeat that again, because this isn't a minor statement. This statement would be impossible if it weren't for BFR. Light loads plus BFR equals real strength gains. If you take the BFR out of the equation, light loads does not equal big strength gains. So BFR is the key here. Why? Okay, so workouts that typically give us the best results in strength and in kind of aging and staying active as we age are heavy lifting or power speed type work. Those type of training become impossible if you have a joint injury or issue. You can't go heavy. You can't do really dynamic things. So inevitably, you can't do the workouts that give you the best results. Why are those workouts the most effective? This is really the key, and we're going to talk about this from a science standpoint. Those type of workouts, heavy lifting or power speed workouts, are most effective because they recruit type 2 muscle fibers. We have 2 types of muscle fibers: slow twitch or type 1 muscle fibers, fast twitch type 2 muscle fibers. Those workouts get our type 2 muscle fibers, and those muscle fibers are key for aging healthy, but they become harder to access. The other thing that those types of workouts do is it causes a big release of human growth hormone, natural human growth hormone, which is a super important hormone to help us age in a healthy way. It helps protect our muscle, protect our bones, reduce body fat, mental clarity, gives us energy. It's an amazing hormone that diminishes with age, but if you work out hard, we can get that human growth hormone. If your joints are compromised, you can't. Okay, so that is how, so adding BFR in completely changes how your body responds metabolically to a light load. So it allows your body to get the same, if not better, recruitment of type 2 muscle fibers, even when you're using a light load, and a bigger release of human growth hormone with a light load that you wouldn't be able to get without blood flow restriction. So I'm going to share my screen for a second, just for those of you who are visual learners. I'm going to go into a little bit of science here. Oops, I need to open a document here. That was, all right. Let's see. Let me try this one more time. There we go. Here we go. Sorry about that. So here's just a few slides that give you some visual of what I'm talking about. So type 1 muscle fibers, slow twitch muscles. These muscles are great for endurance. Think of a marathoner and their body type: long, lean, kind of thin, more sinewy type of muscles. It's good for strength endurance, lifting light things or light days or light weights for long periods of time. And with the muscles that we use in just everyday activity: walking, moving things, picking things up, gardening. Type 1 muscle fibers is what we use. These muscle fibers are easier to maintain as we age, but they don't provide us with as much strength. They don't provide us quickness. So like catching yourself if you trip. They're really good. They're not as good for fall prevention, and they're not as protective for our bones as we age. Type 1 muscle fibers don't stimulate bone. They're not a strong enough contraction to stimulate our bone, and they also don't create as much padding around our bone to protect our bones in a fall. So type 1 muscle fibers, we maintain them. They're great for everyday activity, but they're not going to protect us as we age. Here's something to know about type 1 muscle fibers. Their energy source is oxygen. They need oxygen to make their muscle contraction. Okay, so this becomes a key piece of information so hang on to that in the back of your head. All right, then there's type 2 muscle fibers. Type 2 muscle fibers, or fast twitch, they're activated through heavy lifting or fast movements. Think about a sprinter's body, much more robust, muscular, fuller muscles, rounder muscles. These are the muscles that we lose the fastest as we age, because the activities to work them become harder and harder to execute as we get older. Lifting heavy, moving faster as we age, or if you have a joint limitation, those type of movements can become impossible to do, and we can no longer recruit our type 2 muscle fibers, and so they atrophy. Without type 2 muscle fibers, we become frail, we move slower, and we have less muscle tone and less kind of padding and protection for our bones. Plus, type 2 muscle fibers contract more quickly, pulling on the bone more quickly, and that is one thing that really stimulates bone growth. So working the type 2 muscle fibers is very important for bone health. Type 2 muscle fibers use glucose for energy. They do not need oxygen. They use glucose as their source of energy for muscle contraction. Okay, so now we're getting into how does BFR work to recruit type 2 muscle fibers. BFR, so blood flow restriction, you wear specialized cuffs just on your upper arms, you put them on your upper legs, you tighten them to a certain safe pressure that decreases venous blood flow, and it decreases oxygen to the working muscle. This means your type 1 muscle fibers run out of their fuel. They run out of their oxygen energy, which means they can no longer contract. Even when it's a light load that normally your type 1 muscle fibers could do by themselves, they fail because they are not getting enough oxygen. So then our type 2 muscle fibers jump in. They must get involved, even at a load that's really light that they never would get involved in before. So if you're not using BFR, and let's say you're lifting 3-pound dumbbells, you're only going to be using type 1 muscle fibers. You add BFR on, it reduces oxygen to those muscles, and all of a sudden those type 2 muscle fibers that give us so many benefits get involved in the game. That's exactly why my hip, which don't get me wrong, I was trying to strengthen my hip all the time, but I could not go heavy enough to get to my type 2 fibers. As soon as I started using BFR, that's why in a very short time, matter of weeks, I got a significant increase in strength because I was able to tap into those strong type 2 muscle fibers that had been dormant for years because of my injury. This is really a truly game-changing shift that makes building type 2 muscle fibers way easier and more accessible as we age, and even if you have joint injuries or joint limitations. So this is one of the huge benefits of BFR. The second thing I talked about is how beneficial human growth hormone is. And normally we need to work at a very high level to get a natural production of human growth hormone. So how does blood flow restriction increase human growth hormone? So similarly, you're wearing the band on your upper arm or upper leg, and you're reducing oxygen to the working muscle, and you're reducing the speed of the blood flowing through the muscle, then you start to build blood lactate. Any exercise you do, your body produces lactate. But normally our body can the oxygen just whisks it away and kind of neutralizes it and gets rid of it. So it's not anything that builds up. As BFR restricts the blood flow, the blood lactate stays trapped in the muscle for longer. And so the level of lactate builds up more and more and more to a higher level, a level that's disproportionate to the amount of that you're working. Because if you didn't have the BFR bands, it wouldn't build up. It would just get whisked away. Now that lactate is trapped in the muscle and builds up more. You feel it. If you try BFR, you feel it. It is a burn in your muscle that gets pretty strong. It can be pretty intense. That high level of lactate sends a signal to your pituitary gland telling it that the muscles are in massive fatigue and they need help. Now, keep in mind, this is under a light load that normally wouldn't cause this type of fatigue. The pituitary gland then releases a big response of human growth hormone. This has been studied. You could look up the research or I can share it with you. but it gives a significant increase in human growth hormone that is disproportionate to the amount of work you're doing. So you're doing a light load. It's something you can do even if you have a compromised joint, but you're getting this giant release of human growth hormone that there's no way you would otherwise get with that load. That is the other huge benefit of blood flow restriction training. So this is what high human growth hormone does as we age. It helps you increase your lean muscle. It helps improve bone density. It reduces pain. So those of you who have joint issues that have pain, that can be reduced significantly, if not go completely away. And that's because as you gain strength, so if you have a knee, let's say, that's compromised and you can't load it, your quad continues to get weak. The weaker your quad gets, the more weight you have on your knee joint, the more pain it is caused. You can't go hard enough to get stronger because it hurts your joint. So you're in a negative spiral. Start using BFR, you can get strength without the pressure. That true strength starts to create more space again in that joint. And now you have support and the pain in your joint gets reduced. I have several people in my program who have experienced a reduction in joint pain, if not completely joint pain they've had for years or decades that has gone away. Human growth hormone gives you better mental clarity. It helps with fat loss, specifically in our midsection, because human growth hormone is essential to lipolysis, which means we take our fat cells get broken down into fatty acids, which has to happen for our body to use it as energy. And human growth hormone is essential in that process. We get more energy. We have healthier skin. Human growth hormone will make you look and feel younger because of all these benefits, because you're stronger, because your energy is better, because your mind is sharper, because your body composition is better. You look and feel younger. It is an amazing hormone that really gives you lots of benefits as we age. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing from there. And what I'll say kind of beyond that, and I'm almost wrapping up here, so we'll get to questions. But the other cool thing is when you start using blood flow restriction and you actually can create real change and strength in your joints actually start to feel better. They're now more muscular, they're more supported, you have more space, and it starts to create a positive cycle of strength and health versus the negative spiral you can get in when you have joint pain and then you're diminished and diminished and diminished. This is the opposite spiral. So again, really important for mental health, feeling hope, feeling agency over your health, feeling like you can do something again. I can't overstate how impactful that can be for people. All right. And all I have to say is this is true science. There have been, even though a lot of people have not heard of blood flow restriction yet, but there are hundreds of studies out there. You can Google it. There's lots of studies. I have lots of studies I can share if anyone's interested. We can connect afterwards. But the science is so definitive that BFR is helpful, that it's been trusted for decades in the medical and physical therapy world. And what those worlds use it for is exactly what we're talking about. Someone's had a knee replacement. They don't want you to lose all your quad strength, but you can't stress the joint. So they use blood flow restriction and you gain strength even while you're recovering from your knee replacement. And then you can come back a lot faster, a lot more fully through the use of blood flow restriction. So it's being used in physical therapy and in the medical world for decades. It's now making its way into fitness because the bands have gotten more affordable and also easier to use by yourself. One more thing I'll say about myself, I don't know if you can see this little scar right here, but I actually had a joint replacement, a cervical disc replacement, a neck surgery because of a spinal cord issue I was having 5 weeks ago. And I started doing BFR within a week, just very light, but it allowed me to get that blood flow and that human growth hormone. And within 3 weeks, I was back to doing my normal workouts, which are light. If I was trying to go back to heavy, I would have had to wait months, weeks and months before I could go back to my normal heavyweight. But I could get back to my lighter blood flow restriction workouts much sooner. And at 5 weeks, I feel no different than I felt before my surgery. So it really helps you regain your strength much faster in a safer way. So as I continue to see results again and again with clients, I have a few hundred people that have been through my program now, and I've been a trainer for 30 years. I'd never seen results that were as good as this in the 30 years I've trained. And so I was compelled to create this virtual training program to teach people exactly how to use blood flow restriction, take all of the guesswork out to help you maximize this technique so you can get the most benefit from it. I dove in, I got double certified, I did as much research on it as I could. And I wasn't really looking to start a new business. For those who know me, I own a business. I have 2 small kids. My life is busy, but this has become a passion project of mine. And my goal is really to help people age better, feel stronger, and for those that have joint limitations, finally get out of that downward spiral and that frustration that it can feel like that I've been in. And I really am passionate about helping people with that. So if any of this resonated with you and you're new to hearing about this, I'd love to work with you. You can look at my website. I'll share one more slide with you here, just so you can have the information. So we have, I wish they made an easier way to do this more quickly in the middle of a thing. So the next steps would be, you can go to my website, sellystrength.com, has a lot of information, other webinars, science articles, testimonials, information about both BFR and my program. You can sign up for a free consultation if you just have questions, you want to see if this is right for you, if you want to talk through it. My coaching program is $200 a month. But if anyone is excited to get started now and take action on this, I would love to give you $100 off the first month to kind of make it easy to get started. I also believe in this so much, and I don't want people to be hesitant to at least try it. I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there's no risk to you to even, you will know, I promise you that within 30 days, you will know if this technique is right for you, because you will notice a change in 30 days if this is going to be the right method for you. So if you're not sure and you're on the fence and you're not sure about it, give it a try. You have nothing to lose, and I promise you will be pleasantly surprised. So I will stop sharing. That's the end of kind of what I wanted to present. So now I'd love to go to some questions or comments from anyone that's on the phone. I'll go back to our gallery view as well. All right, questions, comments. How was that for people? For anyone that's sort of new to this? Mary, yeah, did you have any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, it sounds like it's not, I feel like the universe planted you in my path. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And I recently acquired a whole body vibration device. I was wondering, can those 2 things be integrated together?
Yeah, absolutely. So are you talking about like a power plate or something like that?
I have the power plate.
Yeah, no, the vibration of a power plate. So the best way to make your bones strong, people say heavy load is one way, but the vibration is that fast contraction of your muscle against your bone that kind of stimulates that bone growth. So vibration is great for that. Blood flow restriction with human growth hormone, some of the other hormones actually increase bone turnover as well. So that'd be a good combination of things you can do together. The vibration plate, depending on what exercises you're doing, I mean, there'd be certain protocols you would want to do to kind of optimize the blood flow training. But even if you just stood on and did some movements with the bands on, that would be a nice combo.
Okay, fabulous. So I would just reach out to you on your website or the phone call, right?
Yeah, on my website, on the bottom of the homepage, you can schedule a consultation, or on the contact page, you can just send me an email. We can coordinate that way, whatever's easiest. But yeah, I would love to chat and tell you more about the program. And yeah, that's great. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful. It sounds like a very wonderful program.
Thank you. I have a few people on here today that are in it, so they can maybe speak to it, but it's been really fun to see how much it's been helping people. Alan, do you have anything to say about that? You're muted.
I don't want to take up a bunch of time if people had questions, but I do have some comments after being in this program for, I think it's been about a year and a half, maybe not quite. And I started because I was a runner, and that's really all I did. So you can tell from this description that I was just doing type 1 muscle fibers and endurance, but I had some kind of a knee injury that I couldn't identify, and the docs couldn't identify it. So I was at a loss as to what to do. And so I got into BFR training, and a couple different things after this amount of time. I have had a before bone density scan and a recent bone density scan, as well as a DEXA scan. And the more recent bone density scan showed that my bone density I was kind of at the getting into some territory where they're starting to worry. And it shows that not only did it not deteriorate, but it's increased in benefits some. And the reaction of the radiologist was, well, now don't take this too seriously. These were two different pieces of equipment. They weren't all yada yada. I think they really didn't want to acknowledge that it had increased for the better. But for me, that was a big deal. And then the knee injury, whatever I did, I could not, it couldn't be identified, but it hurt like hell if I ran. And so I haven't been running for a year and a half. And I got caught in the rain yesterday and had to run home. And aside from being kind of out of breath for doing that, I didn't have any injury I didn't feel my knee at all. So this is only anecdotal, both of those things. But to me, it is a real indication of something that's changed a lot for the better. And I'm old enough that getting those changes for the better is like a very big deal. So I'm pretty much of a convert, I'd say.
Thank you, Alan. Thomas or Diane, I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but you are two people that I haven't met before. So just curious if either of you have questions or comments. No worries if not, but I wanted to give you a chance in case you did. You can come off mute. You don't even need to go on camera if you don't want.
This is Diane. I just typed a message. And so can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. My question is, while doing this training, can I continue my regular athletic activities, which are hiking, cycling, and pickleball?
Great question. I love that question. I feel like I should have mentioned that, but absolutely. So one of the nice things about, I didn't even say this, but this is a huge benefit of blood flow, is the workouts are really short. We recommend 2 to 3 20 to 25-minute workouts a week that we give you. They're both either recorded workouts, or you could come live to a Zoom workout that we do online. That's all you need to do. If you're very active and doing other things, 2 a week. If you're not, sounds like you're not doing much strength training, but you're doing lots of great activities.
Actually, I do strength training 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay, perfect. So this could potentially replace your strength training, or you could do a mix. If you're liking the strength training, you could kind of do a mix. And we could talk one-on-one a little more in detail about what you're doing, what you like to do, and how this could complement. But the great thing about it is it doesn't take a lot of time, or it's 2 times 20 minutes a week to really see some benefit from the blood flow, even more than probably what you're getting from the strength training you're already doing.
And so you don't see needing to let off on my other activities while I gain more strength from the BFR?
Yeah, definitely not the, I think you said biking, pickleball, and hiking.
Right.
Depending on what you're doing for your other strength training, we maybe want to talk about like bringing that down a notch while you're adding in BFR, just so we don't add too much fatigue. Mm-hmm. But I think it would definitely be something that we could work out.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the great question.
Hi, this is Thomas. I was wondering if you could describe the devices that you use for the blood flow restriction and some of the exercises.
Yes, great question. So there's a bunch of blood flow restriction bands on the market. I would say there's some real expensive ones. There's some real cheap ones, which I wouldn't recommend because you don't know what's happening to how tight you're going, if you're creating a tourniquet or not. The ones I use were created by cardiologists. They're very easy to use. You have a pump with a dial and you pump them up to a specified amount of pressure. The band itself creates, I don't know if you can kind of see, there's these, if I pumped it up, you'd see it better, but it's rubber and there's these individual air pockets. So it does not create a tourniquet. It never will stop your arterial flow. It only reduces your venous flow. And that's an important distinction. There are other bands on the market that do that as well, but they're not as simple as this one. Does that answer your question about the bands, or is there any more specific that you'd like to know?
So can you describe, like, you wrap it around your arm or your leg, or?
Yep. So you get 4 bands in a set. So you have 2 for the arms and you put them right around your upper arm, just kind of below your deltoid. And then same with the leg, you'd have a bigger band than the one I have here, but you would just put it right around your upper thigh. And then you pump them up. You can wear, in the beginning, we have you just wear upper body bands by themselves and or lower body bands by themselves. But once you acclimate to kind of the stress of the workout with the bands on, then you wear all 4, which kind of gives you more ability to have variety in your workouts and really work multiple muscle groups at once. Types of exercises. So, I mean, you can really do anything with them. You can do anything from cardio to strength. If you do more isolated exercises like biceps, triceps, shoulders, you'll get a nice burn. You'll get hypertrophy. Legs, you can do isolated quads, hamstrings, or calves. We also get into more dynamic kind of full body movements. The one common misconception, people think if you're wearing these, it's only benefiting things downstream, like just your arms, just your legs, not your core or your chest or your back. But that's not true for 2 reasons. One, it does create fatigue above the band, not quite as much as below, but you'll still get a crossover fatigue effect. You'll notice if you're wearing all 4 bands and you try to do a plank, you'll get fatigued faster than if you were doing a plank without the bands. And that's really core. So the bands aren't super closely related to that. So it will create fatigue. But the other more important thing is the hormones that your body are producing go to every cell in your body. So if you're working your arms really hard, that hormone's going everywhere. The guy who discovered this had a broken leg and had a full leg cast on, and he did BFR on his upper leg and exercised that leg, but was not able to move his ankle, and his calf did not atrophy while he was in the cast. And the doctors were shocked because he wasn't even working the calf specifically, but he was getting enough human growth hormone that he was able to maintain his muscle tissue. So there is definitely benefit across all muscle groups.
Okay. And then, so say that you did have some specific thing like a knee or a hip, then you would choose exercise, I guess, that would focus on developing those muscles around that joint?
Yeah, great question. I would start with probably some isolated exercises that are safe for the joint around whatever joint it is to start getting some strength to support the joint. I would work let's say it's a knee. I would do some isolated quad work, non-loaded, maybe depending on how painful the knee is. Start with some non-loaded quad work, and then you'd gradually try to progress depending on how you're feeling. But you could also do upper body. You could work the other leg. You could do core to kind of get your whole body getting the strength benefit and the human growth hormone that's also going to benefit that leg. So I do a combination of focused work on the leg that's injured and then more global work on the rest of the body. And those 2 things would kind of help, work together to help that knee get stronger, or that the muscles around the knee get stronger.
Right. That sounds really good. I'm at a point where I'm just beginning to have a few aches and pains. And so I'm for now able to do all my normal exercises and activities, but I'm seeing that down the road, I'm going to definitely need to do something to be able to maintain that. So
yeah, no, it's a good thing just to be aware of and kind of pay attention to how your body's feeling. I think the signs that like maybe you're ready to add blood flow restriction would be if you have pain or achiness post exercise that takes a couple of days to go away, or that limits you from kind of exercising the next day, or if you feel like you're not really getting quite the results you want because you're maybe you're a little limited by either how much volume you can do or how much you can push yourself. Those would be two really good signs that maybe adding blood flow restriction, because it's not like you have to do one or the other. It's not like you only should then do blood flow restriction training. Like you can definitely still do regular training, but blood flow restriction will make you stronger so that you can handle traditional training better without, your joints will be healthier going into that. So I still do heavy lifting, and my right hip is so much stronger now that I can lift heavy better, can lift heavier than I could before, and I don't pay for it anymore. Where before I would just struggle with lifting heavy. So it's not an all or nothing. You can do a little mix of both, and it's really good just listening to your body when you think you're at the point that, okay, I could use something that's going to help me gain strength without so much stress on my body.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Anyone else? Nan, you have anything? Good to see you, by the way.
Yeah, so probably for Thomas, maybe anyone else who's not quite started. I just started 2.5 weeks ago, and like a lot of people, I've accumulated what I consider a lot of errors in the body. So I have some issues that I need to watch, and I've found that even after the first week with just little what I consider baby exercises with really light weights in just a few minutes, I could really feel the difference in strength, and I wasn't hurting my joints. So I was convinced, and I'm going to stay with it. So things are getting a little more difficult, but I'm assuming that my body will adjust, and everything will be fine. But no, I really am very pleased to have found the program, and thank Ashley for adding this to her busy life.
Oh, thank you, man.
And Ashley's been wonderful. She and I've had a number of email conversations back and forth, and she was willing to put in the extra time to give me the individual attention that I needed just to get started. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Nan. I'm happy to have you. I'm glad you're doing so well with it.
Thank you.
I just had a quick comment to make. Sort of a different scenario. I had a back injury, and through all the doctor's appointments and injections, and then finally a surgery, I had to go about 6 months without doing any cardio and without doing much strength training at all. It was pretty bad. But I was doing my physical therapy, and I wore the bands, and I was able to maintain a lot of my muscle mass. And then after the surgery, it also helped me bounce back, which Ashley kind of touched on with her surgery. But so it's kind of like whatever you encounter, I just feel like the bands, I would never do strength training without the bands now, because you're getting so much bang for your buck. So anyways, and this was very recent. So I was shocked that I could get through that and still really like be able to eat the way I would eat, which is pretty healthy, but you know what I mean? Like I didn't have my body didn't change as much as and I'd had this issue 10 years ago too. So anyways, I lost a ton of muscle mass 10 years ago. And so just getting through the injury, it gave me something, it helped my spirits. And that's a lot of what you have to address when you are going through an injury. And now I'm able to get back and I'm doing the programs again. So it was great to have that as a tool along the way during that injury.
Thanks, Emily. All right. Well, I think everyone, I don't know, Pam do you have anything to add, Pam? I know you're been doing it a while now, and no pressure, but I just want to make sure everyone got a chance to talk before we sign off.
I've been, as you know, working out for a long time at Evolution, doing a lot of cardio. But as I aged, I just found that even though I was lifting heavy, and you're right, the aftermath of that could cause some joint pain or just, a lot longer recovery. That I've been doing BFR since mid-November, so like at least 6 months. I'm not doing heavy weights at all, and I'm doing BFR, even walking, as well as cardio on the bike, stationary bike. But I definitely feel that I have gained muscle mass. I have a DEXA body composition in less than a month. So, and I do have osteoporosis. I will have another on a calibrated DEXA scan probably in the fall for my bone density, and I'm being really positive that I think I'll find at least it's not getting worse, but holding its own or getting better. So, and I love the workouts. They're short and sweet, and I get a great, I mean, every time, Monday, Thursday with you or Friday with Brittany, I always get a great workout. I mean, I'm sweating and it's like, 20 to 25 minutes, and it amazes me. So I love that part about it as well, and I can always fit it in. So yeah, thanks for doing it, Ashley. I'm so glad I connected with you on Instagram or whenever it was last fall.
I know. Well, thank you. I'm glad it's working so well for you. And I think that's what people, I mean, it is these short workouts that feel real impactful, and you can feel immediately that you've got a great workout, but it's not hurting your body. It's not intimidating. And yeah, I think that's what's helped people be so consistent and have these gains. And Alan and Pam and Nan are three of the people in my program, but what they're saying is pretty consistent with pretty much everyone in the program. So, yeah. All right. Mary, I saw you jumped in, but we're right at the end of our call. I don't know if you had the time wrong or just got delayed, but I will be sending this recording out. So feel free, please listen to it. And then if you have questions, my email is ashley@cellystrength.com, but you can also, my website, cellystrength.com, there's a place to schedule a call, or you can just send me an email through our contact button there. So I'd be happy to talk to any of you further. And thanks for making the time today. I know everyone's busy, and I appreciate you guys being here and learning about this method that I'm so excited about. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.